Hi, it's GTUA Courses, and welcome to the first lesson of the .NET Developer series, in which we will cover the most relevant topics to become a .NET developer. So hit subscribe button and the bell not to miss new videos on our channel. Okay, let's go! In this lesson we're gonna learn what is computer application and also what it is .NET and how it works. So what is a computer application? Most of my friends, when they just started learning to program, had problems understanding how the code that they write could actually do something useful. Usually it's because they don't know how a computer works and can imagine that process. So the main thing is that application is not magic. The application will do exactly what you ask it to do. We ask it by coding instructions to computer. And here comes the compiler. Because the code that we write is the code that humans can understand, but it means nothing to a computer. So we need some compiler that acts like a translator that turns code from instructions that humans can understand and write to instructions that computers can understand. And here we came to another important thing, memory. Our code, our instructions are information. So before a computer can read them, they should be materialized in the memory. And then this instruction from memory could be dispatched to another important thing, the CPU. CPU can compute things very fast. This is why we write computer applications. We want a computer to do certain tasks for us quickly, precisely, and repeatably. And to help us to do so, usually we need an environment. An environment that contains compilers, security utilities, libraries, and a whole bunch of other useful things that help us write our application, but also help run it on a particular computer and manage the execution of our application. And now we can say that application is not magic. It's the result of intent and idea. And to make this idea work, we use computer memory and CPU and other development and write-time environment resources and tools. In this series particularly, we will discover the thing that will help us to become a .NET developer. .NET is not a single thing or library or tool, but it's rather an ecosystem of tools, libraries, frameworks, and runtimes that help us not only write applications, but also run them on a particular computer. That's why we call applications .NET applications. It's because they can live only in this ecosystem. So let's follow the same path from the code to the actual result that we previously mentioned. Again, we have the code that we have written in our IDE, like Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, or others. But again, C# code is the code more for humans than a computer. Actually, even the .NET ecosystem is not always used to work with C# code. .NET uses a special engine to run your application, and it's called CLR, or Common Language Runtime. But the problem is that CLR does not understand C# code, but CIL code, or Common Intermediate Language, or sometimes MCIL, Microsoft Intermediate Language. And a C# compiler like Roslyn that you might know or heard about helps us to deal with this. It checks our code, and if it does not have any errors, it compiles it to CIL and creates an assembly. This process is called build, and you can find that in your IDE or even call it from the console with the respective command. Okay, we have our CIL code, but we are not there yet because a computer does not understand CIL. Again, we need another translator that help us, and CLR has one. It's a JIT compiler. JIT stands for just in time because it translates commands to machine code during program execution, right before we need them. You may ask why we need this double translation. Well, it gives us a lot of flexibility. We need CIL because actually it allows us not only to use C# to write application, but other languages like F# or Visual Basic, and this code will work fine with the same CLR because it will be compiled into CIL code. And translation from CIL to machine code allows our application to be portable to other systems like Windows or Unix like. So CLR may know on top of which system it runs, and GIT will translate instruction to the system accordingly. The CLR virtual machine allows programmers to forget about many details of the specific processor on which the program will run. The CLR will also provide important services such as memory management, thread management, exception handling, garbage collection, security of execution, and many others. When we create an application, an .exe or DLL file that we call application assembly appears as a result of a compilation. An assembly is a basic structural unit in .NET, the level at which version control, deployment, and application configuration take place. Thus, assemblies are like program modules. The program can consist of one block, or it can consist of several assemblies, like packages, libraries. This way, we can use these assemblies as building blocks and even reuse some in other applications. Each assembly has its own namespace, so that the code in a particular assembly does not mix and conflict with the code from other assemblies. Assemblies can connect other namespaces to themselves to use what they have, but more on that in next topics. Assembly has the following components: a manifest that contains the assembly metadata. Using this metadata, the assembly determines the location of the types in the application file, as well as where to store them in the memory. Also, there are actual program code. Also, we have application resources like images, music files, text. To conclude about .NET and CLR, you could think of it as an environment that your application needs to operate on a computer, as a human needs a spacesuit to work in a space. This is all for this lesson. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell not to miss the following videos in this series. Feel free to leave a comment and like this video. And also I encourage you to help brave people in Ukraine to defend themselves in this horrible war. Please use QR code or links in the description to visit the charitable foundations that help Ukraine. Thanks, see you in the next videos.